Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today is a Thursday edition of the MSP Initiative Live. Today is December 1st. December 1st. That means the last month of the year. I know. It's just another month. It's not true because everybody waits until the end in order to get their stuff together. And you know what that means. Projects, invoices, figuring out accounting and taxes and figuring out what happens in 2023. It is quite an interesting month, to be honest. And this is probably about a time where people try and sneak in those, there's times where they think the holidays are going to be shutting down. I argue, and we'll get into this in a minute, that this year's December is going to be a little bit busier than past December, just because it's like all this stuff kind of got forced forward in the calendar, and like everybody's just going to try and squeeze it in. Just my 2 cents. Before we get too far down the rabbit hole, as they say, MSPinitiative.com. This and every other session we've ever done will be at MSPinitiative.com under the sessions tab, and they'll be in podcast and video format. So, should help you in wherever you are and whatever format you're looking for. We're on our last Channel Strong tour of the year. I believe we have one stop left in Atlanta tomorrow. So if you're in the Atlanta area, the bus is coming to you. Go to channelstrongtour.com, click on Atlanta, register, and we would love to see you. And the rest of the stuff on the website is all done. We're coming towards the end of the year. We are planning 2023. I'll pick your brains about that in a second. But ultimately, what a year. What a year. A lot of things got done this year. A lot of events came back in full force. Man, it was jam-packed, right? Everything that was kind of silent in pandemic times just came back, and everybody did everything. I don't know if it was full, but it was busy. No special speaker today, guys. So we're just going to kind of do a, kind of radio format here where everybody can chime in and chat a little bit as well. I got some things I've picked out of the news wire that I'm going to throw out there just for nothing other than conversation. But yeah, I'm curious to hear what everybody's thoughts were on the year as we start to get towards holiday time, and whether you think 2023 is business as usual, or if you think that you're going to start making changes based on what we're all hearing out there, right? I will start that off with one thing that I found in kind of backs what I've been saying for a long time, but Salesforce is co-CEO here. Economy won't get better anytime soon. Oh, okay. Well, Salesforce deals with all levels of business, right? They're the big man on the block when it comes to CRM, but yeah, here we go. They're still planning for it, right? They're still expecting it. So I'm curious. I know we've been talking about it for some time. Open forum. I would love to hear what you guys think. Well, how about that? One of the CEOs is leaving. How about them apples? But I would love to hear what everybody's plan is moving into 2023, right? So don't be shy. Feel free to jump in there. And while you're thinking about that, and you may jump in and chat a little bit, here's a fun one. This was my first one that I ran into. Those Batman fans out there. Here you go. One of the 2 original Batmobiles from the Michael Keaton Batman and Batman Returns is up for sale in Pennsylvania for $1.5 million. Anyone want to throw some money in the pot? We'll go buy this thing. Sade, what do you think? See, she didn't even expect that. She's like, where are we going to find $1.5 million to kind of pull this together? But literally one of the original Batmobiles from the movie, like movie prop, right? And I love this one. Still has a functioning flamethrower to create the jet engine effect.
Do you suppose that the thing actually runs?
That's a good question. Does it run? Says the car was left abandoned.
Because a lot of that prop stuff, it's just specifically designed for the movie, and the exterior show, and everything like that. But
apparently it runs on a 48-volt battery with a top speed of 30 miles per hour. Doesn't sound like that's a flamethrower. The flamethrower, I'm sure, requires a little bit of jet fuel. Which I'm sure comes at that's an expensive trick these days, but sounds like it would need to have like a real engine put in order to drive this thing around town for any long period of time. You in, Brent? You want to go in with me on it?
I don't know, man. Not for that, not for that much, man.
Well, I can
You know,
negotiate him down. What do you think? 700, 800,000. We'll bring him down 50%.
you think you can go through and put the thing up in like shows and stuff like that for people for events and stuff, you know?
I bet you that, yeah, they had the Back to the Future, one of the replica cars. I mean, probably not one from the movie at IT Nation a few weeks ago. This could be one of those, right? By the way, now that you bring it up, so it was originally had a V8 engine in it, and they converted it to electric. Why? Why? Apparently because it was at Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey, and they didn't want it to be putting out fumes. But man, V8 sounds a whole lot better than the 48-volt battery.
Yeah, you know what? And a lot of times you're talking about going to events. I was at one of the city events here not too long ago, and the kid who inherited the original Adam 12 cop car was there, and he had that car there. And let me tell you, that was really popular. Everyone's sitting back and reminiscing about, sitting back and watching the Adam 12. So
I mean,
anyway.
listen, I love when they have those, the Night Rider car, the A-Team van, they have the Ghostbusters, mobile, and like they start doing all the cars, right? And then I think History Channel had they were racing all the 80s vehicles. Night Rider won, by the way. But yeah, it's fun times, man. I always wanted turbo boost, but I never got it. I mean, for a guy that doesn't like sitting in traffic, turbo boost would be fantastic.
Yeah, well, I'm waiting for the Jetsons car.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna see the flying car in our lifetime. We'll see.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, we will. Come
You think
on,
so?
man.
Well,
Yes, there are a lot of very smart people who are doing a lot of naysaying. However, I see a lot of other people who are going through and saying, you know what, the hell with the regulations. We're doing it anyway. And in a lot of instances, they're actually making it happen.
I think over in Dubai they have they've been doing the drone taxi where you literally
Yeah,
like an
yes.
Uber,
Yep, yep,
and then the
yep,
thing comes down, you get in, it's like room for one person, and it takes you to where you want to go.
yep, yep.
That would be cool. I'm sure it would be a little bit pricier than the regular Uber, but I digress.
Well, I don't know.
Um,
When you're living in Dubai, maybe that doesn't matter a whole lot.
yeah, all that oil money over there in the UAE. This is another one I thought was funny, right? New toner cartridges coming at 20% full, and then at 15%, they're reporting empty. I was like, hasn't this been the thing the whole time? I mean, now it just seems silly, right? Because like the starter cartridge is like basically nothing. But like they give you 5% before they tell you, oh, by the way, your new printer needs a toner cartridge. I
Yeah.
thought that was funny. I can't tell you how many times I've seen that, right? Where they're like, I just got the printer brand new. I'm like, you might as well just buy the toner and the ink cartridges with it because it ain't gonna get you very far.
You know what? I've kind of started working with the Philip the ink tank printers. I've
Okay.
been I have been very impressed with the thing here. There is an event that I go through, and I'm driving around with this printer in a box, in the back of the car. Sometimes it's sitting out in the daylight, all day long and stuff like
So
that. I've been
hold
beating
on,
this thing to
hold on.
pieces for a year, and it still works great.
You leave the printer in your car to like print stuff while you're on the road. Is that what this is?
No, it's there is an event that I go through and do. It's a car show on Wednesday evenings. So
Okay.
at 4 o'clock, I go through. I set up a little teeny network for people to come in and do a registration and stuff like that. And part of that is to print out a little slip that goes on their car, so people can vote on their car number, and stuff like that. And let me tell you, I've been doing that for over a year with
Hmm.
that printer, and it has been phenomenal. And if you look at the ink tanks on the thing here, this is after a year, and I've gone through 3 reams of paper with the thing here. The ink tanks are about 20-25% down.
Yeah, I've actually heard this, right? I've actually had a couple people talk about this all the time. They're refillable, like liquid ink, right? Not toner,
Yeah,
ink, right? So
yeah.
let me share my screen real quick. Like, like Epson has, I think
Yep,
it's
yeah, you
it's
see
one
those little,
behind this, right?
go back there. You see those bottles there?
Yeah.
Yeah, what you do is you lift up the top of the printer here, and then those bottles, you just push it down on top of the thing here. And when it's made a connection, then the ink flows through. You lift the
Hmm.
thing up, it seals itself up, so you don't have to worry about ink spilling out all over the place because you're clumsy or something
I
like
feel
that.
like the Gen 1 version of this, though, it was literally just like a bottle and it could spill everywhere.
That would be a mess. That
Yeah.
would be a mess.
But think about that, right? It's like filling up gas tank, right? Like you're just literally dumping a vat of ink in, and it's an inkjet printer, not
Yeah.
toner, but you just like literally refill the liquid.
Yeah, so there's not that ink, the little print, cartridge stuff. I don't think I ever had one of those things last more than about, maybe half a ream of paper,
Wow.
until the thing, it's got to be replaced, oh, crap, that's
Yeah.
the $55 cartridge.
I love the combo packs on the inkjet still, right? Where it's like, oh, you need the color and the black, $99. And you're like, wow, I just buy the, then you're like, I'll just buy a new printer. But now the new printer only comes with an empty cartridge. So
Yeah, yeah.
ink is the name of the game for people who are still printing. This next one's in the headline, guys. Right? I'm sure you guys have gotten the messages and seen them in the forums.
Oh,
So
yeah, that was big news on
LastPass,
the TV this morning.
yeah, well, mainstream media. So LastPass now part of GoTo, and GoTo is like Log Me In and
Yep.
LastPass and a bunch of other kind of products underneath of them. So yeah, they're saying they had a security breach. I don't know if they've gotten to how far how far the breach went this time, but I
Well,
think they
yeah,
actually,
they swore that no passwords were released. That's the big, the big calming takeaway theoretically.
yeah. I mean, earlier in the year, I wasn't exactly fond that source code was stolen. Nobody wants to hear that. But yeah, this is the big headline again, right? Because these guys got hit like twice in a year. And they're saying that the passwords are encrypted. So even if they got access to it, the data wouldn't be usable. I digress. I'm not Matt Lee or a security guru. And even then, I believe they've contracted out Mediant, or the Google company that just got acquired. I think that's the right name. Yeah, there we go, Mandiant, to actually go through and do like a deep dive to figure out what's what. But yep, that's a big one. So I mean, I know there's a lot of password managers out there. I know GoTo has more than LastPass, but transparency, but also concern, right? Because if they get your passwords, what else do they get? Once the passwords kind of unlock Pandora. So I know that's pretty popular. I mean, that is the largest password manager tool in use out there, I think, still.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of, when we talk about MSP sandbox land, there's a lot of MSP friendly ones out there that are more channels, focused, but can't avoid that, right? I mean, even consumers are using LastPass. So never going to stop, right? Security, 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 and more security. So
Oh, as long as there's
AWS,
money to be extorted, it's going to happen.
well, of course, right? Like, it's not, remember back in like the
It was
early
all about notoriety.
2000s, it was like, oh, there was like the next, love bug and this and that. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, they're actually going to make money by doing this stuff.
Yeah.
I digress. It's definitely not that way anymore, but we could talk about that for a long time. So AWS just did their event called Invent. It's like an annual event. It's like Microsoft Inspire kind of thing. And launched a new marketplace. They announced 5 new products. Problem is these products are largely, here you go, data exchange for Amazon S3, Amazon Lake Formation, data visualization dashboards, vendor insights. So basically, again, AWS, maybe not a consumer. I mean, Amazon is a consumer brand, but AWS is hardly just click and go, right? It's very developer focused. I always remind people that if you look at all of Amazon's quarterly statements, right? Publicly traded company. If you were to detach AWS and separate it from the rest of Amazon, right? The buy your stuff and send it to you, Amazon, the book part of Amazon, all these other things that they're into, the company is actually operating at a loss except for AWS. So like AWS is literally what keeps the company profitable by a large margin, by the way. So if you think about how many employees that they have in order to do warehousing and distribution and delivery drivers and, like all of the other pieces behind the scenes, AWS still like pales in comparison to the rest of the company combined. Just goes to show you, I guess, technology drives the conversation.
Long ago, though, they were talking about Amazon when it first got started up, and it was a big, all kinds of red ink all over the place on the thing, So do you think that keeping the brand name out there is worth the investment? The operating at a loss, is it control? Is it what's there's got to be back end deals and stuff like that too,
I mean, yeah,
we don't know about.
I'm not, you saw what Google did, right? They created Alphabet and then they started breaking out their companies underneath the umbrella. And I guess kind of Facebook did the same with Meta. And then they broke out like, their different companies underneath of it. Funny, Microsoft never did that, by the way, right? Microsoft's a big guy in the block, and they never separated their companies out, more or less. And neither has Apple, right? Apple, again, Apple, Microsoft, you always talk about them kind of in a
but they got
right?
antitrust lawsuited and and stuff like that for things, both of them.
I got you. But and again, surely not the Wall Street guru by any means, but if you took AWS, you separated it out to another company and you left the rest there, it doesn't run, right? They're operating at a loss. So, you can only do that for so long until, the credit card bill comes up, catches up with you, right? So either they completely shut down divisions that are not profitable or they're borrowing money, right? So I got to think that if they were to separate AWS out from Amazon, they would be in the red. They couldn't operate properly, and they would probably have to maybe not do all these side projects that they do. Did you hear that they're going to be, I think they already started it. They want to be their own pharmacy now. So instead of going to
I've gotten all kinds of ads and stuff like that from them, to go through.
So not CVS and Walgreens and wherever else you get.
They go through and they put together the little individual daily pill packs for you and everything like that. Do you know what a time-consuming pain it is for people who are on a lot of meds to sit there and spend 2 hours every Sunday filling up the pill boxes?
Oh, dude!
If they're going to go through and do this stuff, get it all separated out, man, that sounded cool to me.
I mean, listen, I have older parents. They got the pill boxes. I have to help sometimes with that. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it's cool, but again, it's like the slush fund, right? They're able to play in all these areas because there's so much money being generated from AWS that they're able to play these different verticals, right? And like, I don't know if there's not worry about if it works or not, but like have time to flush them out before they decide whether it makes sense to keep doing them, right?
Something else too that was on the news talking about Amazon here was they've just opened up another one of those walk-in, walk-out stores here in California.
But so Whole Foods was where they they acquired Whole Foods as a supermarket, right? And they were going to try and convert. They've been starting to convert these Whole Foods the same way, right? There's no cashiers.
Yeah.
There's no like self-service kiosk, right? Like you register with the system before you even enter the store, and then like everything is to the point where when you pick something up and you put it in your cart, that's when they automatically recognize that you did that. And then as you're walking out of the gate at the end, they just
has hundreds and hundreds of cameras all over the place, facing in every direction, all kinds of stuff in.
Have you been in one?
I've never been in one, but they showed, kind of like what it would be like if you were walking into the thing. When you go in there, there's like a turnstile type thing. So you go through and, as you walk in, the little gate opens up and that means it's recognized you and stuff like that. You walk in, you walk around, you do your shopping, you walk out the door and your Amazon account gets hit.
I actually saw a promo for a convenience store, same model, right? Where
Yeah.
like there's nobody there, it's all digital. You know, I guess if you're in a, you know, obviously you have to have all the gear in order to do this. And I couldn't imagine them doing this in a rural area, right? There's a lot of people that still don't have smartphones, believe it or not. So
Well,
this is the future.
it's something that I'm curious about, and that's I want to know what the business plan is for a Los Angeles smash and grab attack.
I actually was thinking about this in the back of my head as we were going through this. I was like, so like real people that follow the rules and like don't want to steal stuff, that makes sense. This could be cool. And then I was like, what about people who don't give a crap about anything and they just come in with the sledgehammer? Yeah, that might not be the best.
Anyway, it's going to happen. You know that. So I'm just, and
I
LA is a great
do.
area here to test that out and find out whether, now the stores are not put in the seedy areas and stuff like that. They're put into nicer areas, but heck, you see the smash and grab people on the news here. They're pulling up in a Mercedes, in a Rolls Royce, and doing a smash and grab on a little jewelry store or something like that. It's crazy.
Yeah, when we were when we first started the Channel Strong Tour back in August of 2020, yeah, we did Chicago as like our starting off point for the very, very first Channel Strong Tour. And like, we kind of laugh a little bit in a non-bad way because we kind of threaded through a lot of natural disasters during that trip. It was 3 weeks at the start, and we obviously slimmed it down as time went on. But in that Chicago time, when like things were still a little bit crazy, like to your point, people would roll, like there was like a riots that were happening like the night before or after in like the main like retail district in Chicago. And like you'd watch TV and you would see like Escalades roll up. And you're like, wait a minute.
And they go in and break it and steal a TV or something.
I was like, can you afford it at that point? Like, why? Okay, so I'll leave it there, but I thought that was very interesting. That was like the very, very first one. But to your point, security, physical security, maybe not software security. But yeah,
well, that's something that you talk about that. That's something that I've gone through and have talked to business owners about. Oh yeah, tell me about the electronic security here. And I look them in the eye and I said, if I were going to steal something from you, I would throw a brick through your window. I would wheel out the filing cabinet here. I'd be in and out of your place in 37 seconds. There's no way that anybody can respond that fast. That's the fastest and easiest way to go through and to steal things from people.
Yeah, I don't know about the 37 seconds. I think putting a filing cabinet on even a hand truck and going through the front window would take more than 37 seconds, but surely faster than probably the police.
It's going to take longer than 37 seconds, but let me tell you, buddy, you need to see some of the enterprising people around here.
I believe it. This is very true. These are the things that we have to think about as technology continues to go forward. But speaking about security from a IT standpoint, couldn't help but bringing this one up, just coming out of IT Nation here. So ConnectWise, the CTO, came up with a bunch of stuff here that he talked about, I'm sure at IT Nation, but basically where they're concentrating their efforts on. And go back and there's actually another article tied to it, 6 biggest announcements from IT Nation. But accelerating the roadmap, security first approach, since talking about security today, I don't think we're never going to stop talking about it. More relying on the cloud. I guess that's, double-edged sword, right? As long as it's constructed properly, and then continuous delivery of products, right? So obviously those are the big areas where he's concentrating on. And then obviously we can piggyback here off of 6 biggest announcements from IT Nation. I hope everybody's had a chance to actually go through some of this. I didn't, dig through the news wire for a while here, but, and I was there, but, for whatever it's worth, ConnectWise, provides credentialless login accounts. So that's cool, so basically they're, I think they came out with also a new product, maybe like a privileged access management product. New alliance.
It's CAM and it's in conjunction with control, basically.
Okay. Why
Yep.
don't you give Lisa, give us 30 seconds on that instead of me
Well, you
going.
know what? I don't know a whole lot because I don't, typically I'm doing net new business and I
Sure.
include, control in, but, happy to share that some other way, but it is added to the control product and gives you the, elevated credentials, for your technicians.
So yeah, okay. So basically, privileged access management, Google it. There's a lot of products out there that do this, but effectively like some sort of additional secondary factor before things can get installed or settings can be changed, right? So that's becoming a popular thing. I know there's other products out there. I mean, ThreatLocker kind of does it on another side, right? They're more application whitelisting control. I know that there's Auto Elevate probably does this, already as well to some degree. And then there's enterprise products that do this as well. So it looks like ConnectWise came out with their own version of that. Looks like they partnered up with Arrow Electronics and to do like a marketplace style thing with automated billing and ordering. And Arrow's another one of those cloud marketplace type people out there. Says 2 new security focus teams within ConnectWise. Obviously, ConnectWise has a SOC that came as part of the Continuum merger. So that's actually a pretty cool team. I was able to talk to some of the guys that work that division, kind of operate in a bubble, which is kind of nice because, security land works a little bit differently than others. But and then it looks like ConnectWise Labs, this new special unit that will analyze data and anticipate problems that need to be solved.
Yeah, I think that's more per internal development on our applications. So just securing our internal security.
Awesome. Well, if you're not, it's better to do it internally first before it goes outside, right? So, new integrations with ConnectWise PSA and RMM. Again, always that single pane of glass utopia that we're trying to get to. Obviously, ConnectWise actually rebranded a lot of their products, but some of the ones that will retain like their branding. So like IT Boost to mention here, Smileback, YSync was one that was fairly recent. So these are just ConnectWise companies. I think they just renamed like ConnectWise Manage is now called ConnectWise PSA. I saw an article and I'll have to go dig it up hopefully for the end of this call, and it gives you all the different name changes. But anyway, obviously as they bring these products in, merging the experience together, which, we probably expect a little bit. And then Bright Gauge is another one, right? It's retaining its name, but I actually just saw a message saying that they're updating the UI of Bright Gauge, kind of modernizing it a little bit, they said. So, we all know what that does, dashboarding and kind of aggregating data from multiple pieces. And then 3 new capabilities to help MSP secure themselves. ConnectWise Vulnerability Management, SASE, which looks like it's a partnership between ConnectWise and a company called Exium. So I know SASE is still not highly adopted in MSP land, but it's starting to kind of bubble up a little bit. And then there's the IAM by ConnectWise and Evo, which is a multi-factor single sign-on elevated access. So looks like ConnectWise is like, hey, we don't need to build everything. We can partner too. That's cool. So, a couple partnerships here, Exium, Evo, and then this vulnerability management automation. So 3 new capabilities, and that looks like externally facing stuff. So constantly moving into security land, everybody is. I think Datto just announced, their own security solution with probably Kaseya pieces as well. I'll go dig that article up in a little bit. Going down product lane, ThreatLocker acquired a company called Third Wall. Third Wall was, I think, quasi-popular in like ConnectWise Automate land as a plugin to that. But I guess the main reasoning for this, and I saw a little video on this when they did announce the acquisition, was compliance-based checkbox, he said, right? So Third Wall is very good at like managing the Windows firewall and hardening Windows and like with some compliance-based, kind of automation pieces as well. So I guess that was the big reason that they did this Third Wall acquisition. So ThreatLocker just announcing that a couple of weeks ago. And again, just I was going through the news wire ahead of time, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool.
Yeah, George, they have, the third wall is pretty cool because it has 56 cybersecurity policies built in
Aha.
that you can apply to the endpoint, to the client, to all your clients. It was leveraged with Automate. They might be moving that into some of their RMM tools now. But you can also isolate or annihilate too the machine as well. So hopefully they'll take that and they'll start to expand it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I knew it was very popular in Automate land, and that's truthfully where I came from. I still have Automate.
Automate's good, man. They just, so one of the things they did with the Azure platform with Automate that you didn't maybe get from the show was they have now an IP address range. So if the client doesn't log in from that IP address range, they won't allow login. So that's another like cybersecurity stopgate, right?
Yeah, IP address filtering. I love that. That's awesome. I saw him at IT Nation, but I'm not trying to be a propaganda guy, but I guess Rob Ray is officially no longer part of Datto. Sure, he'll pop up somewhere. We can all speculate, but apparently he's officially separated from the company. And I saw him hanging around at IT Nation. I think one of the guys was like, I finally got to buy a Rob Ray beer instead of the other way around. And I was like, okay, check the box, history book. So we'll, I'm sure, see him pop up somewhere. He's not going to see sitting at home, putting his feet up for long. I don't know where. Really, honestly, I don't, but we'll find out.
Yeah, he's been a little bit conspicuously absent at many events for a little while now, you know?
Yeah.
So anyway.
Well, I listen, total speculation. I was able to catch up with Rob before DattoCon and honestly not after, but I assume that the goal was to get DattoCon in the books, right? In DC. They did it. It was probably as good as it was going to get, given like, you know, both sides of Datto, Kaseya kind of converging on that event. But I think that was probably the main thing they wanted to do, because they didn't do DattoCon since 2019 up until then, right? So good for him. He got it off. I know he really wanted that conference to happen in Seattle the year before, and they couldn't, I guess, get it off or they pulled the plug last minute. But yeah, he's been around for a long time. We all know him. So I'm sure there's probably some contractual stuff there, right? I mean, I'm guessing, once you get to a certain size, there's always, that kind of language somewhere. We'll see what happens. And let me just pull up that last one that I was talking about earlier, right? I mean, I think they said Datto launched an XDR, but I think it was really just the Kaseya side, maybe Rocket Cyber, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is. No, I think it's I think they're using the ability to leverage Microsoft Defender's EDR component within AEM or within Datto. That's what I got from that whole thing. I could be wrong.
Yeah, desires and limited in-house security expertise. InfoSight. That's right. They acquired that company before the set. Yeah, I remember they announced this acquisition, Datto proper, before the sale to Kaseya. So so they're using this back end company that they acquired, and then they
interesting.
So
it was an acquisition. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So go look up InfoSight. I know that they were, a legitimately running security company before they were acquired. But it looks like Datto has tried to finally roll them up into, I know this image is small, it looks like the Datto portal here, and kind of tried to consolidate as well. So introduce plan. Yeah. So they also now talk about SASE 2. I know Datto as part of Datto networking, right? I know Datto networking was multiple pieces, right? It was open mesh products for switches and access points, which they, at one point they were like, oh, we're stopping this product line. And then like a day later, they decided not to. That was interesting. And then there was routers, right, that they built on their own. And then I think as part of the Datto stack, they're rolling out this SASE solution, right? It's like next gen VPN security thing. Like everybody's seem going that way. But so anyway, EDR, right? And then at the bottom here, it says, hey, Acronis introduced an EDR product too, which they just had their event like earlier in the week from IT Nation. So Chronos seems to be doing a lot of things. To be honest with you, I didn't spend too much time learning about this at their event, but granted, I was not there for the whole event. Okay, so those are all my cool. Oh, Bill threw me a little message here. Not sure if this was mentioned. Well, that's a good one, Bill. Appreciate the heads up. I'm going to share this one too. Here you go. So Ryan Weeks is no longer at Kaseya. So both, these are two guys that they kind of advertised as people that were staying with the company post-acquisition. Wait a minute, I can confirm Ryan is still an employee of Kaseya, but maybe not their main. So they have another person who's in the CISO role, but he's not going anywhere. No, this is what they said back in June. He's not going anywhere. It sounds like they're going anywhere because he's no longer data CISO. Okay. Well, Bill, things are changing as all things happen, right? Companies come together. Nothing stays the same. So
not a surprise at all, actually.
Yeah, I mean, listen, let's be honest, right? And I'm not knocking, the CEO of Datto at the time, right? Not Austin McCord. He left. He was a pretty big name, right? They brought in Tim Weller. I mean, other than a name, I don't think anyone ever super interacted with Tim Weller, but Ryan Weeks was pretty active, right? I mean, he was in all of those CISO calls. I know he was on the cyber call a lot, which is pretty popular, and a bunch of other things. He was pretty visible out in the space. So, and there was definitely some concern with now Kaseya CISO on the cyber call when all the IT glue password reset stuff came out a little while ago, and they're like, hey, what happened? Oh, no problem. And then there was some speculation there. So I don't know. Bottom line is security is not going away. Somebody needs to be the face of that. I liked Ryan. I think he spoke very well. I think he presented himself very well. Sounds like he's, still somewhere in the mix, but to your point, right? Another face out there that's no longer in the forefront. So as the corporate wheel turns, what can I say? Anywho, so that's all the news items I had. Thank you, Bill, by the way. I didn't have that one, but good to mention it. Hopefully everybody's had a little bit of time to think about this. What's your feeling on 2023? Brent? Business as usual? Are your customers telling you all is well, or are you starting to hear a little bit of, hey, we're got to pull the belt a little bit tighter here?
Well, there's always an opportunity to pull the belt a little bit tighter. However, I believe that there is going to be opening up a lot of opportunities here. Anytime you have the things that are going on, there's a lot of dead wood shakeout, and stuff like that for things. And what that does is it invites a lot of new healthy growth opportunity and stuff like that. So that is my perception going forward.
Yeah,
I have a very positive outlook. Yeah.
We said maybe a week or two ago that the forecast on cybersecurity spending is still continuing to rise, no end in sight. Awesome. But let's face it, right? If people are concerned because they're reading the same headlines and they're watching the same news channels and they're seeing the same, forecasting by the financial people, usually then, I was watching a little clip the other day. It's like, hey, can I get a discount? Okay, what do you want to take out? Right? Like that's the response by the sales guy. Kind of that way, right? Isn't that the starting conversation? Hey, yeah, so what would you like me to remove? What service do you want me to turn off in order to bring your price point down? Like that conversation's got to be had somewhere, right?
Well, however, there's also a lot of everybody seeing all kinds of pricing increases all over the place, and so that gives the problem is no longer, okay, well, I got to raise my prices. Oh my gosh, what do I do? I think it's, how do I gain the trust of these people here to let them know I'm not one of these people was operating a little bit skinny, was not doing what I was supposed to do or whatever, and now I'm having a problem like my competitors might be having.
Well, I mean, listen, I think like when it comes to price increases, Like I just got an email, I think today or yesterday, you know, like, hey, trend might go, we're increasing our prices globally. And it's like, okay, well, like things like NCE that came with an increase in pricing from Microsoft. I think that just transparency there is, hey, I'm just passing this along, right? Like the guy on the left here decided to make a change, and like you're on the right and I'm in between, and I'm just literally just, you know, letting that roll downhill, right? So I mean, that's a little bit easier, right? Because you can just pass that messaging across to your customer that so and so decided that they were raising prices, and here's what that means for you. I would, you know, I think part of the problem with MSPs, right? Because there's so many products that are being bundled into their packages, you know, because that's what we've been taught for the last decade, is that how often are you increasing your labor costs, right? You know, like if you take all the products out and put them onto the left, and you take your actual costs of personnel, people, overhead on the right, isn't that not the part that needs to be increased as well? Because your people ultimately need to get paid more over time, no?
Well, yeah, they need to do that, and the business owner needs to figure out how to get more value out of them as well. You know, if I've got an asset that's costing me more, you know, I would hope to see some kind of an increasing value to the business owner as well for things. You know, unfortunately, a lot of people don't see things that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, to that point, right, Brent? I mean, there's the cross-trained model, right? It's like, hey, I want to start this new practice within my IT services company, you know, but like usually the jack of all trades thing at some point breaks down because you're not specialized in any one area. I know security practices, whether MSPs outsource those or whether they build them internally, has become a popular conversation, for example. But like, in order to build a security practice within your own MSP, you can't do it all. At some point, you have to outsource some pieces, but do you have can you train up some of your people to learn some of those new skills, or is that not in the cards? But either way, you know, I think to your point on the, hey, is the, you know, potential to generate new revenue out there for sure. And I argue with a couple of people on a regular basis, and, you know, the people have been around the sandbox for a long time, say, if you go back and look at some of the recession points, right? 08 was one and a couple of other ones throughout the time. It seems like IT services companies, especially in, you know, like capturing the ebb and flow of what happens in internal IT, have largely done well, is what, you know, is what the argument was with this guy I talked to on a regular basis. I'll leave him nameless for a minute. He's like, listen, if you go back and look at this, if you were positioned properly and you went out there and you put out that billboard, you were able to capture a lot of revenue. The argument was even more revenue during the down period than during good times, because internal IT is usually what suffers in a recession, and they have to still use the technology. And that's where MSPs have largely done well. I don't know if you agree with that or not. There's probably some truth to that.
I think there's a lot of truth to that.
Yeah. I mean, like he said, they do really well in a recession. I'm like, really well? They're like, yes. I'm like, okay.
So is this kind of like alcohol sales when things are crappy? People need to drink their miseries away. You know?
I guess so, but he said this is like they usually say just in general, right? Like not to get super, you know, big picture, but like if everybody starts spending less and the value of your assets start going down, people who have a lot of cash in their bank accounts can go and buy things on the cheap, right? That's the concept. That's where this wealth transfer thing, you know, at a big picture, society wise, they say. So like, it's kind of like that, right? You know, not to knock the guys that are losing their jobs, but somebody has to do that work and service that technology. Why not you? You know, like that's the position. So I don't know. I almost like scratched my head when he said they do really well in recessions. I'm like, really well? Yes. Okay. So I guess there's a really aggressive companies that are able to go out there and capture those new accounts. Hope they're really good salespeople.
Yeah.
You know, like generally IT services guys may not be the strongest salespeople, but you know, it doesn't mean they can't hire them. They can hire some good salespeople.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so other than that, right? Preparing for 2023. What new technology are you excited about, right? I mean, there's constantly new stuff coming out. Have you found anything other than Batmobiles to buy? What new things are coming out that you're like, oh, that's cool?
I'm involved in a lot of things that involve mechanics and stuff like that. And some of the things that I think are kind of cool that are coming out are the retrofit parts for older vehicles so that you can electrify them. The thing that I just saw, and I think I saw, it was an ad on Facebook or some stupid thing like that, where it's an axle. So basically, you can go through and you can remove the
I
transmission,
saw
the engine,
this.
and it's just an axle in there, and it's got the motors in the thing and everything like that. So basically, you go through, you take out the old differential in the vehicle, you slip this thing in here, and then of course you got to add your own battery pack and stuff like that to it. But this is a build component on things, and I thought, every time I see, maybe this is not the living end of things, but every time I see some new technology along the lines of that, it's very exciting to me to go through and to see that.
Did you see the guy who put a regular motor in a Tesla?
No, no, I did.
I was like, oh, we're gonna go from electric to motor, not the other way around. I thought that was
That's
funny.
interesting. That's interesting.
Hey, George, I'm going to work on a steam powered Jeep in 2023. What do you think about that?
A steam powered Jeep. This is like, where does
Oh
this
my
steam come
gosh,
from? Are
steam
you gonna,
power is
is
so
it like a
cool.
locomotive where you got to put like logs in, or how's that gonna
I'm
work?
going to be driving down the highway in my Cherokee. I'm going to have a guy in the back shoveling coal into it. It'll be beautiful. It'll be a little bit messy, maybe, but it'll be unique.
Yeah, you don't think that it might be a little smoky?
I'll deal with it. I'll deal with it.
Yeah.
A little bit of a sacrifice to look just that awesome going down the highway.
Oh,
If that's
100%. Like the question is like, when the cop pulls you over, are you going to be able to say that you have an emission sticker?
I'm doing barbecue, man. Have some ribs.
Yeah, I can imagine that going real well in New York.
Burn alcohol, man. You get the stuff, make steam with alcohol. Get a bunch of sterno cans, put that underneath the coil, and get that thing going.
There you go. And then the hors d'oeuvres are warm for when the cops stop you.
Exactly.
Okay,
I got a
that's
4-cylinder
interesting.
chafing dish on this Jeep. It's amazing.
I mean, it'd be like, hey, here's some food. I'm not allowed to accept food. Here's your ticket. Yeah, that's it's interesting. I think the hydrogen car is resurrected again too, right? Have you heard this?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So let's just put some water
That's
in
where
your
I got
car.
my start in computers, was working for a guy who had a hydrogen energy company, and he needed a computer to do the controlling of things like that with the hydrogen processing and stuff like that. And that's was my first job in computers, was working for this guy. I
Wow.
learned a lot of stuff about hydrogen energy.
They better come up, like we saw. I think on one of their shows, and Darren popped on, we saw the solar car, right? So like, I still don't think there's enough electric generation in this country to have everybody on electric vehicles, even until California is like 35. I still don't think by 2035 they're going to have enough electricity to have everybody on electric vehicles.
No, they're going to have to continue looking at alternative resources. There's a customer we work with that specializes in generating energy from ammonia. And that's turning out to be a really big thing.
Ammonia.
I'm just starting to learn about it as I get to know more about who they are. But it's a very fascinating process, and it sounds incredibly volatile, and there's great controls in place. But I think that the potential for the energy generation that they're looking at right now could be something that's going to be something that's talked about 10 or 15 years from now in a way that's going to be a significant solution. So I'm excited to learn more.
Things don't get approved overnight. Like,
of course
you
not.
need to, like, just like this is controversial. Like, it's supposed to take 10 years to roll out a new pharmaceutical drug, and have it go through trials and testing, and then you get approval, and then you can go be on the street, right? Like we're in 2022, so like 2035 is what, 12 years? How fast do you think one of these alternative things are going to get through the approval process to be on the road?
I think that's going to be determined by environmental conditions over the next 5 or 10 years. I
Yeah.
think that there's going to be, either we have a pace and we're going to figure this out, or, oh gosh, can't say this on George's stream because it would get censored, but we need to do something now or else we're all going to be dead. And, Matt's going to be around in his coal-powered Jeep just laughing at everyone else.
Well, I don't think like listen, I'm all for, advancement. Don't get me wrong. Realistically though, don't think it happens in 10 years or 12 for that matter.
You
So
also have to, George, keep in mind that you're talking to a guy that's obsessed with innovating keyboards.
yeah, but I can see that your keyboard, you might get like imagine they need those keyboards and all these new things, these new vehicles that are coming out, and then all of a sudden you have a whole new business you didn't even think was gonna happen.
I feel like you're going to have to get a cut now if that happens. That was the genesis of the idea right there, and everyone knows. Damn.
There you
Oh.
go. See that? Like there's opportunities for all, but your keyboards are actually pretty cool, man. I think it's a cool little side thing that you do. Although you did bring up the automated cheesesteak place that didn't make
Dude,
it.
the Whiz Grill. That place was amazing. Like I said, it was like 2002, but imagine ordering a cheesesteak from someone with a Windows Mobile handheld device, seeing an assembly line start and all of the ingredients being automated onto that assembly line for the humans to actually assemble. It was so cool. The sandwich was terrible, but just
No,
seeing it,
that defeats. You didn't mention that the sandwich was horrible.
it wasn't that great. It was like, a cheesesteak in any place that you wouldn't go to.
Yeah, no, I'm out. Yeah.
But
Don't
the
get
fact that they
cheesesteaks
had-
at Subway, guys. Come on.
Oh, come on. That's criminal. That's like 3 to 5 in a minimal security.
Oh, but hey, listen, I mean, I've had people who are Florida natives, right? And they had just been buying cheesesteaks in Florida for their whole lives. I don't know where they were buying them from. And then they come up to Philadelphia. I'm like, well, let me take you to the cheesesteak place. I want to give you a little bit of hospitality.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, no, cheesesteaks aren't that good. And I'm like,
Oh, no. You got to
have you
give them a
had
comfort.
one? Oh, yeah,
gotta
I've
give 'em
had
a-
them. I'm like, have you had one from here, from Philadelphia proper? No. I was like, well, you guys should try it, right? You should try it.
That's when you walk up to the person, you give them that comforting hug and say, it's going to be okay.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
I'm not going to give the name out, because, he might get mad at me. But this person, kind of hedged their bets. When they put in the cheesesteak order, they also got a meatball sub as like their backup option if the cheesesteak wasn't good.
That's insulting.
Unfortunately, he, or I guess as expected, he said he made a mistake in the end and that the sub was not the right choice. And I said,
All right. And
yeah,
you
knew
said that this is someone from Florida, and you posted some great photos of LinkedIn at maybe after hours event a few weeks ago where a bunch of cheesesteaks were eaten. I could think of a few people that were in that photo, so I'm gonna have to go look that up and hunt them down.
let's not get there's more stories to this underneath the hood. Let's not get too crazy, okay? But bottom line is, obviously, we need to get you a cheesesteak, Matthew Fox.
Well,
We've talked about this before, but the automated cheesesteak place, I feel like you take like part of the experience away, right? Like,
You do.
you were saying if the place isn't really busy and like you just don't have that feel, I don't think it's the same.
You're also missing out on the interaction between the person behind the counter. I'm not getting like hey buddy, what do you want today? And being able to go back and forth. I'm asking someone for something and they're just hitting buttons on a Windows mobile phone. It was just, if it just took the magic, the appeal, the display, the show. Like you see those commercials. I don't know if you have Jersey Mike's where you are, but Danny
Of
DeVito's
course,
been doing the
yes,
commercials
Jersey
for them.
Mike's.
He's all about the sizzle of the cheesesteak on the grill. And I wouldn't go there for a cheesesteak either, but I think they do a good job at explaining the experience and little bits of appeal that come from that. And none of that existed at Whiz Grill.
Yeah, clearly it didn't make it. That's fine. At the end of the day, like, not saying you want to go to a place where it's dirty, right? But there's a little bit of the, kind of experience at the stand around the corner, right? Where
It's
you're
a little seasoning on there. It's not dirt. It's a little seasoning.
Yeah. So anyway, if anybody's, wants to come and get a cheesesteak, you let me know. I'll take care of you. I like to do a little bit of Philly hospitality, as you know. But at the end of the day, automated places, right? Like they're talking about automating fast food places. You know this, right? Where instead of having, like you can have like one person there and then the rest of the place is robotic, like McDonald's, Burger King, that kind of thing.
They can't even get the cash registers with that business model working. There's a McDonald's over on 6th Avenue, and there's like eight of those kind of touch screens, and you're lucky if one of them is working. That doesn't help. That's just
maybe they're just a little rough with the equipment, but those touch screens that you're talking about, they were in Europe, and like when I was doing a lot of international travel in like
Mhm.
15, 16, 17, 18, that stuff was there long before it made it here.
I'm learning so much about European phone systems and fast food from you. It's amazing over the past month. It's
When I went to Malta and I was really jonesing for something, and I was like, do I trust this place where I, don't never have seen before and a little bit weird, or should I go to McDonald's? I'm not gonna lie, I went to McDonald's, probably just as bad for me, but the brand, I
predictable.
guess,
Yeah.
But they had the touch screens, it's all good. But yeah, 15, 16, 17, those touch screens were outside the country. But I thought I read in Las Vegas, there's already a prototype of a fast food restaurant, like a McDonald's, totally automated.
Every few years I see something like that on the news, or like Discovery Channel have a special. There was a place, I think in San Francisco or somewhere in Northern California, that had an automated burger robot at one time, where you'd put in the order and it would do the entire process from, getting the beef patty out of a freezer and underneath it and dropping it on the grill, monitoring the temperature, assembling the burger, wrapping it. And that was a really cool thing to see. But again, I think I'd rather have human hands in certain processes. I think there's a certain amount of soul that we I'm not trying to sound all metaphysical,
but
but there's something of us that goes into what we eat.
even in that completely automated factory, there's still a guy who is back in the back who knows how to do all of the sensor alignment that it's going to take to make that machine work.
Yeah, but I think the whole point here is that that's one person versus, like, what does it take to run, a McDonald's? 10 people, 8 people, 12 people? Imagine one person per fast food.
It isn't going to be one. They're going to have more than that. Stuff breaks down, man. I've been around automated machines too often. We would love to think that they are just like it is on TV. They're not. They break down inappropriately.
If I like to think of them as they worked on TV, I don't think any of us would have jobs. I like to think of them as breaking down and smoking every now and then.
Well,
that's how we get paid.
That's why I've got a job.
Don't we laugh at that? The McDonald's ice cream machine keeps on breaking.
Always broken. I have a friend who is a content creator. He did an entire song about ice cream machines at McDonald's being broken. That's how big of a thing that is.
It's like they're designed to be broken. Let's be honest.
Wait, why don't these things have nozzles? Why do we need nozzles in an ice cream machine?
I don't know. But yeah, they're always broken. I don't know. Just defeats the purpose. Why have the machine if it doesn't work? But yeah, it's all. Subsequently, I've rarely walked into a Chick-fil-A and they tell me that the ice cream machine's broken. Why is that?
I've only been to a Chick-fil-A once and through the drive-through, so I can't answer that. Do they not have ice cream?
They
or do. They've got
They
systems, they've got standards in place. They follow certain ice cream dispensing standards. I'm sure that's
I don't know.
There's probably a NIST for desserts, and that's what they're dealing with.
Hey, cookie and cream milkshake at Chick-fil-A is just awesome.
Well,
it's one of my top 1 or 2 milkshakes out there.
I might have to make the 15-minute drive to one and come back and let you know what I think about it then.
You should.
Sounds good.
Cookie and cream with the whipped cream and the cherry. I don't think you can go wrong.
I don't think there's none of the words that you said there could go wrong in any sequence. You could have mixed it up in any order you wanted to. It'd still be delicious.
Now, how funny would it be if you go to Chick-fil-A and they tell you the machine's broken?
That would be a LinkedIn Live rant about George Bardissi's decisions to influence.
All right. Well, let's hope that doesn't happen. Matthew Fox and Brent and the rest of the crew on here, as always, you guys are the best. And we will we'll talk about keyboards and ice cream on the next one. And I'm sure I'll click on that link and we'll see what it's all about too. All right, guys. Well, hopefully we'll have some speakers lined up between now and the end of the year. Otherwise, Tuesdays, Thursdays, 1 o'clock Eastern, still doing these all the way to the end of the year, except when we hit the holiday at the end. And then we'll talk a little bit about next year on the next call, right? With what we got planned and what we're cooking up. So take some opinions and see what we can put together. Enjoy that ice cream, Matt Fox. I want to hear about that, pal.
That shake's going to get a full review. I promise you.
You got it, guys. Take it easy.
Have a good one.
Bye.